Congratulations, Riyad Das, you have been selected to die for entertainment, said the voice in my ear, cheerful like a game show host offering me a free vacation instead of imminent trauma. For 3 long seconds I stood frozen in the undergrowth, elbow deep in glowing fungus, and wondering if I had finally snapped. My brain chose this exact moment to default into sarcasm instead of survival instincts. Great, I muttered. Took me 27 years to get a fan club. Rude that my debut begins with my funeral. Above me, my research drone ADA-9 floated on whispering rotors, shining her lens down at me like a confused robotic pigeon. I am not detecting any human voices, she said. However, you appear to have been paired with an unknown transmitter. Also, your heart rate has reached alarming levels again. That is because someone just scheduled my murder, Ada. Statistically, scheduled murders are up 32% on Frontier World, she replied helpfully. Something tiny and warm clung to my neck just below my ear. I touched it. A smooth bead pulsed with a little red light, as if proudly announcing, yes, hello, I am the problem. Ada scanning, she said. The bead was not local tech, it was non-terrestrial, encrypted, and broadcasting my vitals live. Conclusion, she added calmly, you have been tagged. A booming voice now echoed through the bead and from speakers in Ada, as if wanting surround sound for my panic. Sentience of the Spiral Arm, feast your eyes, our newest prey is live on the Hunt channel. Look at that expression, utter confusion. You are watching Prey Species number 814, status unarmed, emotional rating very promising. Distant laughter and commentary came through rapid fire. So small. She won't last 5 minutes. I say, she cries before she even climbs a tree. I glanced up through the thick canopy and spotted a hovering sphere about the size of a suitcase floating high above, matte black with a ring of shifting green light aimed straight at me. This is a show, I whispered, and not the wholesome educational kind. Ada confirmed. We are now being watched by 400,000 viewers, she said in the exact tone one might use to say the weather is mild today. Congratulations, you are trending. I want to untrend immediately, I protested. Meanwhile, far above, in a floating studio polished enough to make any TV star cry with jealousy, a massive 4-armed alien posed dramatically under bright spotlights. Grasped for a trophy hunter and professional menace admired the way the studio lights gleamed off his battle scars. On a dozen hollow screens my tiny figure was displayed from every angle. Soft, he muttered, no claws, no armor, why is she rated B tier difficulty? Overseer Kethrix, lounging on a throne of cushions and cables, replied, unknown variables are good for engagement, the fear algorithm loves her. Grask grinned, then let me give them fear. With a roar he spread all 4 arms and the Hunt channel broadcast exploded with music and special effects. Let the hunt begin. Down on Beltara 3 the only music was my ragged breathing. Estimated time to hunter arrival 180 seconds, Ada said. My legs obeyed before my brain did. I ran crashing through vines and branches that seemed determined to audition for the role of my murderer. The bead on my neck glowed brighter like a countdown timer getting excited. North offers higher canopy, Ada announced. Also, viewers strongly prefer chases with stumbles and near misses. I will keep that in mind, I panted, maybe add a dramatic tumble for ratings. The jungle behind me shook as something large approached. A crashing of branches, a flare of metallic scent in the air. He is here, Ada said. Fantastic, I muttered and lunged for the nearest tree. Fear turbocharged my climbing skills as I scrambled up rough bark and moss-slick branches until I was perched on a thick limb 10 meters above the ground, wheezing like an asthmatic tea kettle. The leaves rustled and below the foliage parted. Grask stepped into the clearing like the star of a blockbuster entrance scene. His armor glinted, his claws gleamed, and 2 camera drones drifted loyally around him, capturing his good angles. Prey Species number 814, he boomed, do you have a name? My mouth, the traitor, outran my common sense. Ria, I yelled. Ria Das. He tasted the syllables, then nodded. You may call me Grask, it is tradition to know the name of your hunter. Oh good, I shouted. I was worried this would be impersonal. Somewhere as far as orbit the audience probably fell in love and bought merchandise. Grask chuckled. I like you, he said, it will be a shame when I mount your tag. Then he jumped for the trunk and climbed like gravity owed him money. The tree shuddered as he rose toward me, claws carving footholds. Ada offered statistical encouragement that prey who climbed trees survive 41 seconds longer. Wonderful, I gasped a whole extra half-minute. Leaves above me shifted. I turned just in time to see a clump of foliage become a living creature. It dropped past my shoulder, a blur of mottled green and gold for a long barbed tail and bright amber eyes full of mischief and murder. It slammed into one of Grask's camera drones with a delighted screech, claws tearing through metal. The drone exploded against the tree, launching sparks and shredded circuits. The creature then latched onto Grask's helmet and began enthusiastically trying to peel it open like a crab leg. Grask roared, struggling to maintain grip on the tree with two arms while swatting at the beast with the other two. Ada watched. I believe that is a tree-dwelling ambush predator, high agility, high hostility, low respect for authority. The creature bit a cable, sparks flew, and Grask howled. It glanced at me, eyes bright with wild intelligence. I had no clue what it was or why it had chosen chaos on my behalf. Yes, I called out, projecting confidence for every watching viewer. This was absolutely part of my master plan. The creature chirped like it found that funny and flung itself back into the higher branches, disappearing as fast as it had arrived. Grask clung to the trunk, scorched and furious, now down one drone and several thousand dignity points. For the first time since the bead had pulsed to life against my skin, I felt the odds shift, however slightly. Something here did not like that I had been tagged as prey. And it had just dropped from above to say so. I never thought there would be a day when an entire galaxy stared at me waiting for my next breath, yet there I was standing on a moss-covered platform high in the ancient trees of Veltara, with a million lenses pointed at my face and a bead-sized scar on my neck where the tag used to pulse like a warning siren. My hands trembled, but I kept them clasped behind my back the way confident people do in documentaries, even though my brain was screaming, "You are a biologist, not a revolution starter, and definitely not someone who should speak into a broadcast feeding half the spiral arm." Twig crouched beside me, tail flicking slowly, still wrapped in bandages from the fight, and Ada hovered behind us, projecting the feed toward the Hunt Channel orbital relay. This was the final stream, the breaking of the old rules, and the moment everything could either collapse into violence or transform into something new. Grask stood opposite me, bruised, scorched, and missing parts of his armor, but no longer snarling. Instead, he looked oddly thoughtful, maybe even nervous, which was surprising from someone who once introduced himself with the words, "Let the hunt begin." The broadcast countdown logo ticked away above us, and the chat feed scrolled so fast I could not even read a single comment. Somewhere Kethrix oversaw the studio clutching their cushioned throne, desperately trying to control the narrative. They wanted spectacle, they wanted blood, they wanted me either triumphantly taken as a trophy or dramatically vaporized in an orbital strike. But instead they were getting something unpredictable. They were getting choice. The feed flashed live. Sound rushed in like a tidal wave. The attention of countless hunters, gamblers, and thrill watchers pressed down like humidity. I forced my voice steady. I was prey species number 814. Past tense. I am Riyad Das, and I am alive because the hunt failed to follow its own story. You wanted a chase. You got a fight. You wanted fear. You got rebellion. The crowd noise spiked into chaotic reactions, but I continued, letting adrenaline steer me. I pointed to Twig beside me. This planet fought back. I fought back. Even your champion Grask fought something bigger than he expected. And now you have a choice as viewers, not just spectators. Grask exhaled long and low, then stepped beside me instead of in front of me. He addressed the cameras with that practiced hunter voice that once boomed over the jungle like thunder. I was told she was weak. I was told she was prey. Instead, she outsmarted my traps, humiliated me in front of half the channel, and forced me to question what the hunt even means. The chat lost its collective mind, flipping between shock, laughter, fury, and awe. Kethrix's voice crackled through the speakers, sharp enough to cut steel. Grask Tivor, return to the terms of the hunt immediately, or I revoke your contract, your titles, your sponsorships, and your inheritance of Clan Tivor holdings. This is not negotiation. This is an order. Grask straightened, forearms folding behind his back in mirrored defiance of my stance. Then perhaps the contract is flawed. Perhaps the hunt is not about honor or skill anymore. It is about entertainment without consequence. The cameras loved it. The audience loved it. And suddenly panic flickered visibly through the studio feed, showing Kethrix wide-eyed, realizing control was slipping like sand through claws. I raised my voice again while the wave was cresting. The hunt does not need to end. It needs to evolve. A new league. Consent required. Shared profit. No killing of sapient prey. Mutual challenge with skilled trophies, not corpses. If viewers want spectacle, then give them competition, not slaughter. A vote. Live. Now. Ada sent the poll to every active viewer against Ketherick's direct lockout commands slicing through firewalls like digital teeth. Once started, it could not be withdrawn. Numbers rolled in like a waterfall. The forest air held its breath. Twig let out a low growly chirp, pressing closer to my leg as if sensing everything trembled on this edge. 40% yes. 45. 50. Comments flipped from mockery to fierce argument. Some screamed tradition, others begged for change. Grask watched the numbers with tense jaw, and for the first time I noticed fear in him, not of losing prey but of losing purpose. He whispered quietly, not to me but to himself, "If I am not a hunter of prey, what am I?" I answered even quieter, so only he could hear, "Perhaps one day a champion of a new kind of hunt." His lips twitched, confused then thoughtful. 70%. 80. 92. Ketherick shrieked something about revoking galactic broadcasting rights and legal clauses, but nobody listened. The vote closed at 96% in favor of reform. The forest exploded with digital confetti overlays, cheering emotes, and stunned silence from those who never believed this could happen. The Hunt channel was forced to make it official live on air or risk a riot of viewers abandoning them. Contracts reshaped. Rules rewritten. The tag removal ceremony was broadcast in slow cinematic sweeps as Grask reached forward and unclipped the tiny device from my neck, letting it fall into the moss where it blinked pitifully one last time before fading out. "You are no longer prey species," Grask said, voice heavy with something like respect. "Riyad Das of Earth walks free." Twig chattered triumphant and leaped onto my shoulder, tail curling around my neck like a living medal. The cameras captured every second as Ketherick begrudgingly announced the world's first mutual challenge league, with me as consultant on sapient rights and Grask as founding challenger champion. Viewership surged not because they lost Bloodsport but because they gained something unpredictable. A new game. Tension woven with choice. Risk without dehumanization. The galaxy loves a plot twist more than tradition. Weeks later I walked the canopy again, this time without a bead ticking toward my doom. The air tasted different. Lighter. I was no star or savior, just a researcher who survived being turned into a hashtag. Ada floated at my side, still occasionally reminding me I was trending in several systems, mostly due to Twig, who bit a camera drone during an interview, earning him cult mascot status. Grask sent encrypted messages, sometimes sharing training videos where he failed hilariously at non-lethal challenges and pretended not to enjoy learning. The forest remained wild and alive, and mine to study, not die in. The Hunt channel still broadcast hunts, but now contestants shook hands before matches, laughed, returned home alive, and occasionally formed bizarre, unlikely friendships. Change was messy, loud, and imperfect, but real. I sat on a branch as twilight birds shimmered across the sky, glowing like molten glass. Twig groomed his fur on my knee and Ada recorded notes. For once there was no countdown, no audience demanding my panic. Just quiet. Just breath. In the end I was no longer tagged Prey 814. I was Riyad Das, the woman who stopped a galaxy from killing for entertainment, not with a weapon but with a vote, a predator ally and more stubbornness than sense. And somewhere above, perhaps in another hunt, another world, someone whispered, "Let the challenge begin," not with fear but with anticipation. The jungle was quiet in a way it had never been the day I was tagged. Back then every rustle meant death, every chirp meant an audience voting on how I might scream. Now the leaves whispered like witnesses to history, and somewhere distant a camera drone hovered politely instead of hunting me. It was strange how fast the galaxy could shift once someone dared interrupt its favorite show. Stranger still that the someone was me, a woman who once fainted during frog dissection in school. Yet here I stood at the highest canopy tower ever built by nervous scientists, hands steady, back straight, facing the entire Hunt channel through a live broadcast that could rewrite culture or end me spectacularly if everything went wrong. Ada hovered by my shoulder, her blue lens fixed forward, recording, streaming, archiving. Twig paced along the railing like a restless emerald-streaked tail lashing occasionally at imaginary enemies. Below the forest stretched endless ancient and new. Above the sky shimmered with orbiting ships all tuned to one channel, one moment, one decision. Kethric's voice slithered through the communication line, bitter as spoiled fruit. Riyadh Das, this feed is illegal, unauthorized, and a violation of contract clauses. Turn off your broadcast or orbital strike protocols will commence. My pulse kicked, but I remembered how fear tasted on my tongue weeks ago, rusty, metallic, wild. I was not that Riyadh anymore. I responded calm, as if delivering a field lecture. The contract you rely on applies only to prey hunts, and I am no longer prey. The tag was removed by the champion hunter himself live on stream with full audience approval. Any strike now would break the most sacred rule of entertainment: viewer consent. Not even Kethrix could fight numbers. 1 million watching. 2 million. The counter climbed every second and the chat surged like a tidal river of chaotic noise. Some cheered for reform, others demanded blood, but all were watching, and watching was power. Grask stood beside me, hulking but somehow humbled, arms folded as though bracing against a storm. I had imagined this speech for nights while Twig healed and Ada plotted code like a digital spider weaving threads. When the broadcast timer hit 0, I stepped forward. Viewers across systems, I said, breathing slow so my voice carried steady through the feed. You tuned in for a hunt. You got a story? A prey that refused to die. A hunter who learned to question tradition. A predator native to this world who fought not for glory but instinct and loyalty. The camera drone zoomed to Twig, who bared teeth like a gremlin mascot. Laughter emojis flooded. Good. Let them laugh. Laughter softened anger. Made revolution entertaining. I gestured toward Grask. He was bred, trained, shaped to believe honor lived only in killing the weaker. But he chose something else. Grask stepped forward, towering over me, and spoke lower than his usual grand roar. When I first came here, I expected an easy victory, a trophy, a montage highlight. But Rhea ran traps I never saw coming. She turned fear into strategy. When the tree predator attacked, I thought I was humiliated. Instead, I was freed. For the first time, I hunted a challenge, not a victim. His eyes swept upward to the orbital studio feed. You promised me legacy, Kethrix. If legacy means clinging to the past, then I refuse it. The chat detonated confusion, admiration, outrage. Hunters argued, prey sentients cheered. Some spammed icons of Twig wearing a tiny crown someone had already drawn, fan art. Kethrix shrieked orders off camera. Cut the feed. Scramble her drone. Overwrite authority. But Ada chirped cheerful defiance. Connection stable, signal mirrored across 472 relay nodes, redundancy at 99%. Even if cut here, the message was echoing everywhere, unstoppable. My palms were sweaty but steady. It was time. The galaxy loves spectacle. So give them one. I lifted the old red bead from where Grask returned it days ago, a symbol once of death, now dangling harmlessly between my fingers. This tag used to mean prey. Today it means choice. The poll appears now. Vote. Continue the old hunt of blood or begin the new hunt of challenge, competition, skill, and mutual consent. For a heartbeat, silence choked every corner of broadcast. Then numbers exploded. 30% for tradition. 40. 50 tipped to new. Back wavered. Climbed again. Comment floods broke servers. Entire worlds argued in real time. Kethrix appeared on split screen, sweating and furious, claiming sabotage, unethical rebellion, unrated chaos. But viewers were not listening anymore. They were choosing. 60% new Hunt League. 72. 89. 95. The polls slammed shut, final, irreversible, undeniable. Something inside me loosened, tension melting, instant tears at the corners of my eyes. It was done. The galaxy voted not for death but for evolution. Kethrix had no choice but public compliance. Overseer voice trembled as they announced results with forced cheer. Effective immediately, the Hunt channel transitions into the Mutual Challenge League. No lethal trophies permitted under viewer majority law. First consultant Riyadh Das. First Apex partner recognized, Twig designation, sovereign predator of Veltara. First champion competitor Grask Tivor. Twig squeaked triumphant, pouncing onto my shoulder, claws pricking through fabric, affectionate and wild. Grask looked at me, strange, something between respect and bewilderment. You changed everything, Riyad Das. He said it softly, private despite a universe listening. I answered, maybe you did too. He huffed something like a laugh. A week later, celebration still echoed across the trees. The canopy was full of researchers, traders, new competitors planning non-lethal hunts, obstacle runs, strategy battles, obstacle mazes designed by engineers who clearly hated sleep. Grask trained daily, no longer hunting fear but skill, facing other hunters and challenges of wit, strength, and balance. He lost sometimes spectacularly, once falling into mud so deep only his upper arms stuck out, waving like drowning vegetation. Viewers loved it. So did he, though he pretended otherwise. Ada became official League Tech advisor, smug beyond measure. Twig gained a following that mailed offerings of fruit, meat, and mini drones which he shredded with joy. And me? I returned to research, but never again alone or hunted. My work now protected, funded, and watched, not as prey but pioneer. At dusk I sat on a branch overlooking the glowing horizon, feeling wind warm and alive. The world below rustled with promise, not threat. I touched the faint scar on my neck where the bead once pulsed like a countdown. No tag now. No doom. Only memory. I once thought survival meant hiding. But survival meant speaking, stepping forward, refusing to be prey even when entire galaxies expected it. I changed nothing alone, but with a tree predator, a stubborn drone, and a hunter who learned to think. I changed everything. And somewhere new hunts began, not of death but brilliance, skill, daring. The galaxy found entertainment without killing, and maybe hope inside chaos. I closed my eyes, breathing deep of ancient leaves and future worlds waiting. I was no longer number 814. I was Riyad Das, and I walked free, not because fate spared me but because I rewrote the ending. Sunset spilled gold over Veltara's canopy when the final ceremony began. The same jungle that once echoed with Grask's hunting roars now filled with music and drone lights weaving shapes across the sky. Weeks of chaos had led to this one moment, and though victory tasted sweet, it did not come without weight. My heartbeat was steady but heavy, like it understood the story was ending and history was beginning. Twig sat proudly on my shoulder, his once wounded side healed and fur shining as if he personally polished it for the camera. Ada hovered beside me with upgraded plating polished by fans who insisted a drone of such attitude deserved glamour. Around us stood researchers, hunters, former subscribers, journalists, even children with homemade twig masks, some cheering, some awestruck, none hostile. That alone felt miraculous. The new arena beneath was nothing like the old killing grounds. No blood pits, no trophy hooks. Instead, platforms swayed between trees, bridges twisted like vines, puzzle towers glowed with bioluminescent markers. Today would mark the first official challenge match of the Mutual League, and somehow, without fully agreeing, I was scheduled to initiate it. The idea alone twisted my stomach. I was a scientist, not a competitor, but the crowd chanted my name, some sincere, some amused, some curious about whether the girl once hunted like an animal could now stand as challenger. Grask approached wearing lighter armor engraved with newly painted symbols of consent and competition, colors swirling instead of intimidating. He looked almost regal if one ignored the slight nerves in his mandibles. He stopped beside me and spoke low, keeping cameras at respectful distance. You need not do this, Ria, tradition or not. We won already? I swallowed, then shook my head lightly. We opened the door, Grask, but a door means little if no one walks through it. If I hesitate now, others will fear change. He considered that, gaze scanning the new arena as if mapping possible outcomes. You may lose. His tone was gentle, strangely protective. I smiled small. I survived a whole galaxy wanting me dead. Losing a game won't kill me. Twig chirped sharply as if threatening violence against anyone who dared hurt me anyway. Ada added statistics in her usual dry tone. Probability of you falling off something is 80%. Please be aware gravity does not negotiate. The crowd roared as Kethrix arrived, not on a throne but on a simple floating platform, dressed stiffly like someone kidnapped by democracy. Their voice amplified at least 2 octaves lower than their usual smug cheer. Welcome, welcome to the first Mutual Challenge broadcast. Their eyes flicked irritation at the necessity of saying mutual. Today we witness Riyad Das formally check in for challenge against champion Grask Tivor. No lethal strikes. No kill claims. First to complete 3 objectives or force a surrender wins. Wagers opened beneath the screen ironically skewed against me, but I found humor in knowing half were investors betting on comedy rather than my chance. At least they watched voluntarily now, not for screams but spectacle. Drums echoed across trees and the countdown began. 10. 9. My pulse synced with the beat. 8. 7. No fear, only fire. 6. Twig tensed ready. 5. Ada recorded calmly. 4. Grask nodded respect. 3. 2. 1. The horn blared and we leapt. The first objective was retrieving a luminous sphere hanging from a vine labyrinth 30 meters above ground. Grask vaulted higher effortlessly, 4 arms making him born for climbing, but I had a secret advantage. Twig. He launched me upward from a branch, claws digging in just long enough for propulsion. I caught a vine, swung with momentum, adrenaline shrieking electric. Viewers howled with delight at the surprise cooperative move. Grask growled amused, impressed, and chased through the tangle like a 4-limbed panther. We twisted, leapt, dodged, swinging side by side, sometimes inches apart, sharing breath. No intent to harm, only to outwit. It felt like flight. Twig bounded ahead, claws slicing strategic vines, creating shortcuts nowhere and rulebook prohibited it. Ada cheerfully offered directional overlays in my visor, which I may have forgotten to mention I was wearing new tech courtesy of fan donations. At the final stretch, Grask reached the glowing sphere first, but instead of taking it, he held it out toward me. A grin on his fierce alien face. Let us see if you can snatch victory rather than be granted it. I slapped his hand, harmlessly grabbed the sphere and dove downward, yelling probably something very unheroic. Net trampolines made of woven leaves caught me, bouncing like a deranged amphibian. First point mine. The crowd erupted. Second objective was puzzle-based, something Ada excelled at more than me. A grid of shifting symbols and runes required alignment by stepping on correct platforms suspended above water. Hunters historically never solved puzzles, they smashed puzzles. I, however, had spent years decoding alien flora classification symbols. This was almost nostalgic. Grask lumbered across, breaking 2 panels, causing splashes and curses. I giggled mid-concentration, watching a war machine tiptoe like a ballerina over fragile tiles. Eventually I unlocked the final rune panel, triggering a cascade of light, and second point awarded. Grask stared, half proud, half offended. I am beginning to suspect you planned this entire league for your strengths. Perhaps I smiled, though the next round might not favor me at all. Final objective, combat non-lethal. Twig immediately climbed atop my head as if saying over my dead body, will you fight alone? Grask removed heavy armor, leaving only flexible plating to ensure fairness. The arena floor cleared on woven branches lit by organic biolights. We circled each other, heartbeats syncing with drums below. He struck first, a sweeping arm. I ducked, but not fast enough. His second arm tagged my shoulder, sending me spinning. Laughter, sympathy, gasps. I regained footing, using momentum to slide under a follow strike, jabbing lightly with padded baton. The crowd loved every near miss, every tumble, not for blood but thrill. Twig suddenly launched at Grask, biting harmlessly on plated wrist, more dramatic than damaging. The audience screamed in adoration at their tiny chaotic king. Grask gently flicked him away, respectfully pulling punches. This no longer felt like survival, it felt like sport, something almost beautiful. When he pinned me down, instead of crushing me, he simply tapped center of my chest, marking a win in combat. Final score 2-1. I won overall. The arena exploded like thunderous rainfall, cheers, chants, stomping, platforms vibrating. A victory chorus, not of prey escaping death but of challengers earning respect. Kethrix forced a smile, teeth tight as rusted gears. The league recognizes Riyad Das as victor of first mutual challenge. They raised my arm awkwardly like someone allergic to hope. Grask offered his hand, and when I clasped it, applause soared. Twig climbed up Grask's shoulder, planting a kiss, bite unclear which, then jumped back to me triumphant. Later, when lights dimmed and celebration drifted to laughter and food fires, I sat on the same branch where terror once ruled my lungs. Now I breathed deep, free. Grask joined me, quiet as heavy stones settling softly. You changed my world, Ria. You changed mine, I replied. The jungle swayed like approving ancestors. Ada dimmed her lights, resting. Twig curled asleep between us, trusting universe safe. The hunt that once marked me for death became a league of life. No audience waited for screams. Only stories. The night before the final broadcast of the season, I lay awake inside my research treehouse with the soft hum of Ada recharging beside me and Twig's warm weight curled against my ribs like a purring furnace. The air outside shimmered with neon insects, the scent of damp bark rich and grounding. The Mutual League had gone from scandal to sensation in record time, with viewership surpassing the old Hunt channel numbers by billions. No one expected it. No one planned it. Somehow I, a xenobiologist who once hid behind leaves in panic, was the face of something that shook traditions older than recorded history. Tomorrow the first season would end with the symbolic final stream. After that the League would continue without needing me at its center. In theory that should have comforted me. Instead my chest tightened like vines wound too tightly on a sapling. Change never ended, only transformed. At dawn the canopy glowed copper, suns rising like twin coins tossed into a green ocean. Ada hovered close, scanning environmental conditions while complaining that humidity was at 87%, an unacceptable number for electronics with dignity. Twig leapt from branch to branch, brimming with energy as if sensing something monumental brewing. Grask arrived later than usual, armored lightly, posture more relaxed than when we first met but still carrying that hunter tension beneath the surface. He paused at my platform and looked around like seeing the jungle for the first time, not as territory but as home. Ria, he said, we have one more role to play together. His voice was steady yet held an undertone I couldn't name. My stomach flipped. The final stream. Millions waiting. Billions perhaps. But not to watch someone die. To watch something end and something begin. We walked toward the broadcast site built high among colossal branches woven with bio-resin and shimmering vines. Cameras shaped like fruit hung above us. Drones lined quietly like observant birds. The board council members stood in a circle, Kethrix among them, forced to wear a neutral-colored suit instead of ceremonial kill silk. They didn't smile but at least didn't sneer, which was improvement. Many hunters had joined the new league willingly, discovering joy in competition, not slaughter. Others left unhappy but alive, which was more peace than Veltara ever hosted. When the stream opened, it wasn't loud. It was still. Stillness heavy enough to bend hearts. I stepped forward to speak, unsure if my words mattered anymore or if change had already rooted deep enough to thrive without me. I inhaled the scent of resin and lost the memory of that first terrifying day sharp behind my eyelids. I was tagged once against my will. Hunted for sport. If not for Twig attacking from above, if not for Ada hacking feeds when rules closed in, if not for Grask choosing dignity over tradition, I would not be here. The league exists because we all changed. Because we all chose. The audience didn't shout. They listened. Grask beside me spoke with conviction. We honor the past by evolving it. The new league celebrates strength without cruelty, risk without murder. He paused, then glanced at me. But we have one final tradition to rewrite. The old hunt always ended by mounting a trophy. Today we end by offering partnership. The crowd murmured like wind stirring roots. My pulse jittered. Grask retrieved something small from a case shaped not like a weapon but like a gift box. Inside was a new bead, not red but silver-green like leaf under moonlight. He held it up so the feed caught every reflection. This is no prey tag. This is a choice tag. A symbol given only in consent. If worn, it marks one who chooses to challenge or be challenged by mutual agreement. No claim. No ownership. Only respect. The world held its breath. Twig crept to the edge of my shoulder, eyes wide, curious. Ada whispered, analysis probability of ceremony success high if you accept, low if you refuse. A choice. Once I fled. Now I stood. My hand closed around the bead, cool and smooth like future waiting. I clipped it to my collar. The forest erupted in cheers so loud birds fled into golden skies. Fireworks of bioluminescent pollen burst around us like glowing stars. I had ceased being prey long ago. Today I claimed myself willingly part of the league, not victim of it. After ceremonies ended, a celebration spread across canopy bridges. Hunters attempted cultural dances with scientists, crashing into vines. Ada was hoisted by fans and decorated with stickers reading SAS core processor installed. Twig received too much fruit and began vibrating from sugar overload. I found a moment alone at the railing, gazing at the world below, ancient and unchanged yet somehow reborn. Leaves shimmered silver. Rivers glinted like blade edges dulling into peace. Grass joined me quietly, arms folded like always but softer now. You could leave if you want, he said. Return to earth. Return to quiet research. His tone neutral but eyes searching like he feared the answer. I considered Earth, the noise, the expectations, the hero narrative I never asked for. Then I thought of this jungle, alive, wild, full of species barely catalogued, of Twig who chose me, of Ada who recorded everything with exasperated affection, of Grass who once hunted me, now stood beside me like comrade. I whispered, I think I belong here for now. His breath exhaled relief, subtle but real. Evening washed the jungle in violet and copper. Fires burned warm, music drifted through leaves like laughter. Children of different species raced across rope bridges reenacting the first hunt, but instead of pretending to kill they tagged one another and traded victory berries. I watched with heart full enough to ache. This was the world that replaced the old one. I helped make it. The thought almost knocked me breathless. Later, when crowds thinned and stars scattered across the sky like spilled salt, I sat on the highest branch of my tower, legs swinging. Twig curled asleep on my lap, belly round with celebration fruit. Ada hovered low to conserve power but remained awake to watch constellations like a digital owl. Grass stood below, leaning on trunk, head tilted up toward me, not hunting but waiting. I realized we did not need words. Survival forged strange bonds. I spoke softly to the sky, not for viewers, not for applause, just for myself. I was prey once. Tagged. Terrified. But I refused to remain what they named me. The galaxy changed because one creature dropped from above, and I decided not to die politely. Pain became purpose. Fear became fuel. A hunt became a league. Prey became pioneer. Wind brushed warm against my face, carrying the future like a promise. I touched the silver-green bead lightly, and it pulsed not like warning but like heartbeats shared with countless lives, connected by choice instead of fear. Somewhere below a child shouted, "Let the challenge begin," and laughter followed instead of screams. I smiled into the dawn of a new era when the jungle glowed alive beneath me. Riyad Das, no longer prey, species 814, but founder of a galaxy, learning at last how to chase without killing, how to watch without cruelty, how to hunt without hate. Peace not perfect but living, breathing, growing. A story not about surviving but about transforming. And high above branch and sky and stars I sat unafraid. The last broadcast of the season was supposed to be ceremonial, simple, a happy ending wrapped in confetti and bioluminescent sparkles. The galaxy expected a celebration, clean and perfectly packaged. But peace never arrives without testing its edges, and mine arrived as a tremor underfoot the morning of the final event. At first I thought it was just Twig pouncing across my sleeping chest as he often did to demand breakfast, but Ada immediately flashed red diagnostics and announced seismic activity irregular. Not natural. The forest canopy swayed in a way the trees never did by themselves, leaves trembling like a warning whisper. I stepped out onto the balcony, the humid air filled with the charged scent of sap. Somewhere beyond the tree line engines roared. That was not part of the schedule. Twig stood beside me, fur bristling, his tail a tornado of agitation. Ada zoomed closer and projected an aerial scan. Ships. Many. Sleek metallic predators cutting through cloud cover like knives. Hunter designs, but not ours. Old Hunt Syndicate vessels. The ones who rejected the League. The ones who wanted blood back on the screen. A cold ripple passed through me, chilling even the warm jungle air. Change had triggered backlash. Of course it had. Stories never end without the last test. But I was not prey anymore. I was someone who faced monsters and then invited them to play fair. Some monsters refused. Grask reached the platform seconds later, armor half buckled from hurried preparation. His face was carved from stone and storm. They mean to force a hunt, he said, voice low, controlled. Off book. Unlawful. They think killing you on stream will restore tradition. My laugh escaped sharp and humorless. Again with me being the reboot martyr. Twig hissed agreement. Ada requested calmly, shall I prepare emergency broadcast override? It might be temporary but enough to show the truth. I nodded, once fear and fire blending inside me. I would not run. I would not hide. The old hunt would not return from convenience. The forest below erupted into shouts as researchers scrambled to safety and League defenders rallied. Drones swarmed up like schools of silver fish ready to intercept. I felt the ground of identity shift under me, the old memory of being tagged pulsing faintly like a scar remembering pain. But now my neck held the silver-green bead of choice, not the red one of prey. I touched it gently and the tremor in my hands steadied. We end the season my way, I whispered. We climbed higher, reaching the communication spire where broadcast lines pulsed through biofiber like glowing veins. The sky darkened under the shadows of incoming ships. They descended in formation, predatory, elegant, doors opening midair to drop armed hunters to the canopy like metallic raindrops. And every camera tuned in across the galaxy watched, hungry for what came next. Not death, I hoped. Not fear. But resistance that proved peace was worth defending. I stepped into center platform where leaves rustled like an audience inhaling. Ada initiated stream override, pushing a live feed galaxy-wide. My face appeared across systems once more, but no desperation this time. Only resolve. Hunters of the old order, I said, voice ringing across canopy and cosmos. You come to reclaim the past with blood, but the galaxy voted. Pray no more. Hunt with consent, or not at all. The invaders circled like wolves around a new alpha. Their leader landed, heavy branches cracking under weight. His armor bore ritual scars of kills long past. He looked at me with disdain like I was a stain on legacy. You mistake votes for victory, he snarled. Tradition is older than democracy. A hunt begins today, girl of Earth. You will run. I smiled, small and sharp. No. You will. Gasps whispered through leaves and screens simultaneously. Grask stepped beside me, shoulders squared, forearms loose and ready. He spoke loud enough to shake birds from nests. By the new law you have violated League policy. You initiate force without consent. You are now prey. The declaration struck like lightning. Ada executed code, locking visual frames, marking every intruding hunter with scarlet outline. A reversal visible to every viewer. A twist the galaxy did not expect. Chaos ignited beautifully. The new League competitors who once trained under Grask leapt into action, not to kill but to tag, to subdue, to capture unwilling challengers. Twig launched himself like a furry missile onto the lead invader's helmet, gnawing viciously as though destiny itself scripted it. Drones sprayed harmless stun webs, turning hunters into thrashing cocoons. The old order fell apart not through slaughter but through humiliation broadcast to billions. The chat overflowed with laughter, cheers, disbelief, relief. The future won not by bloodshed but by spectacle better than death. Still, one invader slipped through, aiming for me with a blade designed for kills, not games. He lunged too fast for thought, but instinct older than fear moved me. I ducked, rolled, and swung a baton into his knee, sending him crashing into vines where Ada Electro tangled him harmlessly. My breath shook after, but I stood firm. I was not the girl who climbed trees trembling and whispered, "Please let me live." I was the woman who turned a murder sport into a league. When the last invader was webbed and tagged, the forest filled with victorious noise like thunder softened by joy. Grask faced the camera and declared the final score. Tradition 0. Future 1. Laughter burst across the galaxy. Kethrix for once did not argue, maybe realizing profit tasted sweeter without corpses. The invaders were escorted away for legal processing, which was just fancy words for mandatory sensitivity training and sponsorship loss, something worse than death for hunters who lived for fame. The stability returned like slow rain calming smoke. We resumed the final ceremony not as survivors but as creators. I walked once more to the highest branch where stars blink like witness marks. Ada floated silent, humming equilibrium. Twig curled on my lap, tongue peeking content. Grass stood below enough distance to give me space, enough closeness to promise he would always stand if future trembled again. The galaxy did not just watch tonight. It learned. Power was not in claws but in consent. Not in blood but in balance. I whispered quietly into the night though billions could still hear. I was prey once. Now I choose. The leaves carried that truth across canopy like wind sharing secrets. When dawn spilled gold across the trees, the last broadcast faded into memory, archived forever as the night the hunt reversed. I looked at the silver-green beat still warm at my throat, pulsing gently like shared heartbeat between species and futures. I smiled not because danger was gone but because choice existed where fear once lived. And somewhere above a child somewhere shouted, let the challenge begin, not with screams but laughter echoing through new worlds unafraid. Riyad Das of Earth, no longer number 814 but founder, guardian, challenger, just human enough to fall and brave enough to rise. The hunt had ended but life continued wild and bright. And beneath stars and leaves and the hum of possibility I stood free.